Hey guys, it's Neil again from Heart of Texas Armory, and today I wanted to do a video review of what is quickly becoming my favorite watch. And what that watch is, you see it here on my wrist, this beautiful Vostok. This is a special edition. So this is the Vostok Amphibia SE 020. And like I mentioned, this is quickly becoming one of my favorite watches. I've had it for just about a month now, just over a month I believe, and I just can't keep it off my wrist. You can see how it fits here. I've got about a 7-inch wrist here, and this is a 41 millimeter case diameter, this 020 case style, and boy does it fit me nice and looks really good as well. I really love the vintage look and feel of this particular watch. So I wanted to start off this video review just showing you what it looks like on the wrist. You can see it actually wears kind of flat. Even though this is a 15 millimeter case thickness here with that domed acrylic, it actually wears pretty flat on the wrist, and it's because the lugs curve down. It just hugs your wrist really nice. But what we'll do next is I'm going to go ahead and get this off my wrist, and we're going to talk about this amazing watch in a little more detail. I'll be right back. All right, guys, we've got the watch off my wrist now, so we can take a look at it in a little more detail. So let's start off by moving the watch over to the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll bring up the specs for this particular model. So again, this is a Vostok Amphibia Special Edition, and the case style you see here is a 020. And this reference number is also a B34 uni-directional. So the uni-directional is kind of unique here. This is the first Vostok that I've owned, and as far as I know, one of the first that features a 120 click uni-directional dive bezel, which is one of the main reasons why I purchased this watch. And we'll show that in action here shortly. So this watch has a case diameter of 41 millimeters, which I absolutely love that size. That is probably my favorite case diameter size. It just fits my wrist perfectly, and I feel it would probably fit most of y'all's wrist as well. Down as small as 6 1/4 up to probably 8 or larger. The 41 millimeter case size is a nice sweet spot. Your lug width here for your straps and bands, you're looking at 20 millimeters, so very common and standard size lug width. That's always a positive. Lug to lug from this tip here up to that tip, we're looking at just under 48 millimeters according to my measurements. So again, that is very wearable. I usually prefer watches with a lug to lug less than 50, so call it 48 here. I'm very pleased with that. Now your case thickness on this Vostok, you're looking at 15 millimeters, so it is a little chunky. But like I mentioned earlier, it actually wears a little more narrow, in my opinion, than the 15 millimeters would come across as. And that's just because those lugs, you can see them here, how they curve down and just hugs your wrist and kind of hides that 15 millimeter thickness. So 15 millimeters on that case thickness with the acrylic crystal, of course. Your weight with this watch, you're looking at 130 grams on the mesh strap here. Now, it's a little lighter if you wear it with the supplied silicone strap. I'll show that here in a minute. But as it sits right here on the mesh, on my scale, I get 130 grams, or about 4.5 ounces. Now, this watch has the standard Vostok Amphibia movement with the date window, which is the 2416B movement. That is an in-house Vostok movement. Pretty much the same movement they've been making for decades. So at this point, it is absolutely reliable. It can take a beating. It's just a workhorse of a watch movement. Of course, it's not the most refined. You don't have hacking, you don't have quick date change, but that is all part of the Vostok quirks that we all know and love. So that 2416 movement, it works really good, and I'll show you the accuracy that I did on a watch check app, and it's actually pretty surprising with this particular watch here. And of course, being a Vostok Amphibia, we have a waterproof rating of 200 meters, so very, very impressive. So nice set of specs for this particular watch. And also I'll mention quickly the price on this watch. You're looking at $140. So this is a special edition watch, so the price on these is slightly higher than your standard Vostoks, but you do get some nice upgrades. And we'll go over all those nice upgrades and benefits of the SE model as we go through this review. So what we'll do now is we're going to go through our talking points. Let me zoom in one more time and get you a little closer so we can take a look at the case, the dial, and some of the other highlights of this watch. All right, guys, here we are zoomed in one more time so we can look at the details of this particular watch. So let's start off with the dial. So that was one of the main things that appealed to me to this watch. You can see it is a beautiful white dial with very nice applied hour markings here. Very classy looking, but also vintage looking. So one of the best features, in my opinion, is this beautiful white dial. I always tend to like the look of white dial watches, particularly on dive watches. So this was a big win for me. We'll also take a look at the hands. You'll notice with this SE model, it actually has an enlarged size of hands here. So you can notice that the seconds hand reaches all the way out to the hour and seconds mark here. And also that the hour and minute hand are actually a little larger than your standard Vostok. So that's a nice improvement here. That's one of the main advantages, in my opinion, of this watch over most other Amphibias. One, it's easier to actually read the time, and two, with them being slightly larger, you're going to get better lume. You can notice right here you've got quite a bit more surface area that they can apply lume to, so that leads to much better lume than most Vostoks, and this watch definitely has very good lume. So you'll notice here at the 3 o'clock you've got a date window, and that's standard with a lot of Vostok Amphibias, that location there. No quick date change on these, just like any other Vostok, so you still have to either go around 24 hours basically, or use the little hack where you can quick set it with the hack, and I have a video on that if you're interested in learning how to do that. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about the crown and the case back. So just looking at this watch, you'll see it has a very nice brushed finish, and it's actually a radial brush. You can notice that the brushing lines, if you can see, go around along with the case here. So that's a very nice effect. That brushing is also carried over to the back of the watch, so we'll flip it over, and you'll notice that the back also has that very nice radial brushing. We'll also quickly look at the case back. That is a unique case back to this watch, a little different from your standard Scuba Dude Amphibia case back. You can see it just looks a little different. I definitely like it. It looks cool. Another bonus of an SE watch. Usually you're going to get a custom or some type of limited edition case back, so that's a nice touch. Now the sides of the case here are also brushed. It is going to be linear here from front to back, so that's a nice touch. The entire watch is basically brushed. The only part that isn't is the crown, which I will focus on here if I can. 1 second, guys. So you can see the crown is slightly more polished than the rest of the watch, but it is also signed, which is nice. You can see the B there for Vostok, which is a logo for Vostok. So that's a definite nice touch too. You do get a signed crown with this particular SE watch. So of course the materials here are all fairly standard Vostok Amphibia. So you have a stainless steel case back, a chrome plated crown, and then here I'm not sure on the bezel. I'm assuming that's probably still chrome plated, but it could be stainless steel. But that is your standard kind of Vostok Amphibia case materials, but that stainless steel is nice. Definitely looks good. So your crystal, just like all the other Vostoks, you have a nice domed acrylic here. You can see with that beautiful distortion effect. One of the coolest things about Vostoks, that domed acrylic. Very vintage looking, easy to polish up, but also easy to get scratches. If you look closely on mine, I've picked up a few scratches over the last month. Nothing that I can't polish out, and I'll probably do that in another month or two. But that is part of the charm and quirks of Vostoks, is that acrylic crystal, that beautiful domed acrylic crystal. Again, a lot of cool characteristics, but you will have to maintain it by polishing it every once in a while. And I have a video on how to do that on my channel as well if you're interested. Now, let's talk about the coolest feature, I think, on this particular watch, and that is the Unidirectional bezel, guys. You hear it? We do not have a bidirectional bezel here. This is actually a 120 click unidirectional bezel. So as far as I know, this is one of the first watches from Vostok that has a unidirectional bezel. And it feels a little different than most 120 click unidirectional bezels. It's typical Russian. It feels more mechanical to me. You know, it's not as smooth, but it feels very nice. It's very positive. You can probably hear those clicks. It's very accurate, easy to operate. There's no hardly at all backplay. Look at that. It's like just rock solid, but it just feels different. Now, I haven't actually popped off this bezel to take a look at how that works. I may do an upcoming video on that, but to me, I'm thinking that this works in a different way than most other 120 click bezels. So it's kind of unique and interesting, but that is a huge win for this particular watch. I love that it has an actual unidirectional bezel. That is one of the reasons I purchased this watch. Also, looking at the bezel, you'll notice it has a very nice matte black finish here. And there's some other color variations. You should be seeing those pop up right now with this particular SE model. You know, you've got different color combinations, including a very impressive yellow dial. That looks really cool as well. But of course, I went with the white dial with the black bezel, and I think it looks fantastic. The bezel here, the bezel insert is, I'm assuming it's some type of aluminum insert, but it's hard to tell. There's not a lot of information on that, but it's got to be an aluminum insert. But I do like that. It's kind of a matte finish. It's kind of different from your standard you know, entry-level bezel inserts that are aluminum that are usually polished. So fairly interesting. So next up, let's talk about the Lume. Now this is another highlight of this watch. You should be seeing that Lume shot right now. Very impressive Lume here from Vostok. Certainly an improvement over any other Vostok watch that I've owned, and this is a step in the right direction. This watch here, you can charge up and it will last all night. When I wake up in the morning, you know, say eight hours after I've charged this Lume, it's still readable, which is very impressive. Most of my other Vostok watches, sure, they might be readable after 8 hours, but it is very, very dim, and you really have to work at it to actually see it, where this one is usable. So definitely, that is a huge positive here. I really like the Lume on this watch. All right, guys, so what we'll do next is we're going to talk about the positives and negatives and wrap this review up. So what are the positives with this Vostok 020 SE? Well, I've already mentioned it a few times, the vintage feel and look. I really think that is impressive with this watch. It is a huge benefit to me. I love vintage watches, and this one just looks vintage to me. I get a lot of compliments on this watch. It just is a nice looking watch. Very classy as well with those hour markings here, the applied markings. So no Roman numerals or anything like that. It's just very classy. So well done on that. Now, another positive is the actual timekeeping. So you should be seeing the Watch Check app pop up right now. And this watch here, after 9-10 days, I'm averaging +7 seconds. That's right out of the box, guys. So very impressive timekeeping. That leads me to believe that some of these SE watches, Vostok is actually regulating them before they send them out. So I've actually haven't had to even take off the case back of this watch to touch, you know, the regulator. It is perfectly adequate to me. +7 seconds. I am extremely happy with that. It just feels high quality. So it looks high quality, but it also feels high quality. The bezel feels nice. Everything is well done on it. Sure, there are some rough around the edges with this particular watch, but overall, it just feels good in the hand. It feels good on the wrist, and I really like that. Another positive here I'll mention is the size. So this 020 case style being 41 millimeters, that's a huge positive in my book. Again, that is pretty much the sweet spot for me, so I really like that case size. Of course, the lug-to-lug too is also nice at only 48 millimeters. And then the last thing, you just saw it, is the Lume. This is a definite improvement for Vostok and a step in the right direction. Hopefully, in the future, we'll see all Vostok watches come with better Lume. That's always been kind of one of their weak points. So I really like that this watch has usable Lume. Very nice. And the negatives, sure, there's going to be a few. There's not a lot with this watch, but what I'll say is there are a few sharp edges. So like in here inside the lugs, it's just a little sharp here. You know, they could have taken just a little more time to bevel those edges, you know, just on the points. So you can see it's a very sharp angle up here. You don't ever feel it on your wrist, but definitely something that could be improved is just one final pass over. After they machine these on the CNC machines, they should probably just go through a little bit of a beveling on those edges. So that's a slight negative. Nothing that is a deal breaker by any means. Another thing I'll mention is it is, you know, 15 millimeters. Sure, it does wear thinner than that 15 millimeters that you would think it would, but it's still quite thick at 15 millimeters. So, you know, that's part of the Vostok watch history here. You know, you've got a domed acrylic, you've kind of got a domed case back here, but it is a little thick. I wish they were just maybe a millimeter thicker. It'd be just about perfect. And then the last negative I'll mention here is the bezel. It works perfectly fine. I'm 100% happy with it, but the only thing I'll mention, look at the texture here. It's not bad on the texture, but it's still a little slick because it is basically a polished edge there. If they would just texture that just a little better, just to give your fingers just a little more grip, that would have been a little bit of an improvement. Not a huge negative again, but I'm just nitpicking here. So basically, to wrap this video review up, man, this is an impressive watch. Certainly one of my favorites in my collection. I don't ever think I'll get rid of this watch. I'm 100% happy with it. It was love at first sight when I saw these online, and I had to purchase them when they went live, and you know, they all sold out now. So I don't know if they're going to be making more of these or not. I'm sure they will because they sold out so quick. It'd be foolish not to make more, but man, I'm happy with this watch. It's just an excellent timepiece, a great tool watch. Of course, you can go scuba diving with this. With the 200-meter water resistance, you don't have to worry about water getting in this thing. As long as you got the crown secured properly, and also as long as you keep your case back secured. And it does have the standard Vostok case back, which you can watch more videos of how that works on my channel. But overall, what a watch. For $140, I'm 100% happy with my purchase. I hope you guys enjoyed this video review. If you got any questions on this particular watch, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. So this has been Neil at Heart of Texas Armory. I hope you enjoyed this video review, and I'll catch you on the next one. Y'all guys take care.